What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I want to give you guys an urgent market update as Bitcoin is once again on the move, this time to the downside, which is kind of what we were expecting. So I just want to go ahead and look at this current price action that we're getting right now. And then I want to go back in time and look at those bearish signs that we were seeing pop up on the charts for the past week or so that was kind of making us expect this move to the downside. That way, next time you guys, the CandleMafia, are looking at the charts, you can see this stuff before it happens as well. And then I just want to talk about some lower targets in case we keep on dumping to the downside. And I just want to talk a little bit about what I'm expecting in the short term for Bitcoin. But before we get into it, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of our awesome tutorials or urgent market updates that we upload to the channel. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the chart. And again, let's take a look at that current price action, go back and see what those warning signs that we're calling for this move to the downside were, and then let's talk about where Bitcoin can go in the near future. Let's get into it. So guys, here we are on the Bitcoin weekly time frame, and as you guys know, I am leaning a little bit more bullish in the long term, and one of the reasons for that is the fact that we had made a higher high on the weekly, right? This is a pretty strong indication that we may see some more upside in the long term. However, in the medium and the short term, we are potentially looking at some more downside. Now, we can actually come pretty far down before completely invalidating this bullish market structure on the higher time frames. So with those bearish signs on the medium time frames, we do have a little bit of room to come down. You don't want to forget we do have that CME gap at about $19,500. Are we on our way to go fill that right now? Let's go ahead and dig into the price action and find out. So I do just want to preface this video, guys. As of right now, I am still leaning bullish longer term, right? We're going to be talking a lot about the bearish cases in this video, so I don't want people thinking I'm flipping completely bearish on Bitcoin. Longer term, still bullish, but in the medium to short term, I do think we can get a nice little pullback here, potentially if we can get this bearish momentum to continue. Now, the price action on this time frame is still looking good with that higher high. Structurally, this is looking like a bullish move. However, the VWAP on Market Cipher B is starting to roll back over to the downside, looking for that red dot probably in the next week or two. Now, this doesn't indicate an absolute dump to zero. However, it can be a very strong bearish signal. Now, although our money flow is starting to curve back down here a little bit, we are still generally trending to the upside. So if this VWAP comes down and crosses a red dot, I would expect more of a pullback on Bitcoin, but we could easily get that VWAP to flip back to the upside, drag that money flow back up, and get this trend to continue. And remember, guys, we do still have a lot of room to the downside before invalidating the bullish market structure on the higher time frame. So if it gets bloody out there, don't get too scared. But there is a line in the sand where I will flip bearish, and we could probably talk about that a little later in this video. So coming down through the time frames here, guys, 6-day VWAP also cooling off, looking very similar to the weekly. Now, the 5-day is starting to print a red dot here. Now, again, you guys will know that on my live stream, we were looking at these higher time frames, looking like they wanted to cool off for over a week now, looking at that, starting with that 2-day red dot that we printed on about Monday, January 23rd. Of this year. Obviously, we got that red dot on the 2-day, which was kind of indicating to me that, hey, we might start cooling off in the longer term here. This is really nothing to joke about. This is a very strong sign that we were about to cool off. And then obviously, this is where you started to see price slowly creeping higher and higher. But this is why, even though price was creeping up, if you watch my live streams, I was still leaning pretty bearish in the medium term, right? Because we know, or the CandleMafia knows, that as price creeps up and makes higher highs, that is not sustainable if you have momentum and money flow coming out. And we had not only momentum coming out, but we also had money flow on the lower time frames and momentum on the lower time frames coming out, as well as some pretty bearish signals on the lower time frames as well, right? So this was kind of, after this 2-day red dot, this is where I was like, okay, this may have been the majority of the move here, because not only was the 2-day printing that red dot, but the 3-day was getting close to printing a red dot, and then the 4 and the 5-day were getting really close to printing as well, as those lower time frames typically do bleed into the higher time frames. I was expecting that red dot to continue to flow through the rest of these higher time frames, eventually ending up on the weekly. So With that being said, that is why I was leaning bearish, or one of the reasons I was leaning bearish here, even though price was continuing to come up. On my live streams, I was kind of saying, you know, guys, this isn't going to be sustainable forever if momentum and money flow continues to come out. And that is exactly what happened. And then eventually, obviously, we did get that dump. So I just wanted to make that clear, guys. You know, obviously, price was creeping up here and everyone was getting mega bullish. Now, we were being very careful about a potential push into 25K or an extra little squeeze up to 25K. Because sometimes when Bitcoin goes ballistic, it goes ballistic. You know, weirder things have happened, you know, than Bitcoin just continuing to pump through bearish signals. But it just doesn't make sense, or it wasn't making sense to me that price was making higher highs and momentum was coming out, right? And then we got the bearish signal on the daily. We did have this daily bearish divergence. You could see massively higher highs on your price action and lower highs on your momentum waves, and your money flow was starting to curve out as well. Again, not only do you have the bearish divergence, which is a very bearish signal. Also, though, you had money flow coming out not only on the daily, but aggressively as you work your way down the time frames, letting us know that that money flow coming out was going to leak into those higher time frames. And we know that money flow represents money entering or exiting an asset. So if you have money coming out, right? If you have money flow coming down, signaling that money is leaving the asset and price is going up, it gives you a discrepancy in price, warranting a correction to the downside. And that is why we were looking at this bearish divergence on the daily time frame in the premium Discord, saying this might be the thing that can actually break us down. And I do just want to point out that this is a lot easier said after the fact, because when you're in the heat of the moment here, you're getting a green dot, an immediate red dot. You're thinking, oh God, this thing could easily just flip back up to the upside. You already went through all this bullish price action. You have everyone on Twitter screaming for massive targets to the upside. And, you know, sometimes that stuff can creep in and kind of blind you from just the technical analysis. That's why it's so important to trust the numbers. Emotions lie. People on Twitter lie. Your friends lie, people lie, the numbers and the TA don't lie. So more often than not, if you trust your TA, it will eventually play out. If you just trusted this daily bearish divergence that we were talking about, you could have gotten into a short at the top of the move here and capitalized on this move to the downside. So just another one of the mega bearish signs that we're calling for more downside. Again, as we work down to the 16 and the 12 hour, same deal here. We were making higher highs on our price action, lower highs on momentum, and money flow coming out as well, signaling that, hey, price is going up, momentum and money is not going in, or momentum's not coming up, money's not coming into the asset. So how is this going to sustainably move to the upside, right? And that's what you're looking for when you're looking for a correction. If you're coming up to key resistance, which we were, the level of about 23,825, I believe, was the exact level that we gave in the premium Discord. You know, if you're coming up to that key level of resistance, you're seeing price move up, momentum and money coming out. That's a discrepancy. Doesn't really make sense. Probably going to correct to the downside. And this is how you can see this stuff coming, right? And again, it is a lot harder to say this in the moment, or a lot harder to trust this in the moment, because you can see we had a bearish divergence right here on the 16 hour, and we kind of just went sideways. Took a little dump here, and then we put in another drive of bearish divergence right here. We did get a little nice scalp on the way down, but then we just pushed higher again. And when this is happening and you keep pushing up and these divergences are not playing out in a big way, especially on the 16 hour, it's kind of showing that the bullish momentum is strong. But then once you see that you're starting to make these lower highs on your momentum waves and the money flow starts to come out, that is where you could start to trust your TA and say, okay, we are making higher highs, but the money flow and the momentum's coming out. So I know this isn't going to be sustainable. So I just wanted to talk about that. These are the main things that were making us expect this move to the downside. 12 hour as well, money flow coming out, momentum coming out as price was coming up, not sustainable over time. And then that last straw was kind of this thing that we were looking at. I believe on my live stream, I tried to bring it up, but I couldn't get it to populate here for some reason. But if we go ahead and we pull up Lux Algo Premium and go ahead and put that on our chart as well as Market Cipher A, you can see here that we actually got a pretty bearish signal. We got not only a blood diamond on the 5-hour time frame, which is a pretty high time frame for a blood diamond. These typically do play out in a decent way. But not only did you get that blood diamond, but you also got a strong sell signal on Lux Algo with your candle coloring turning red, indicating that the downtrend was likely to continue. And on top of that, guys, we also had this volume gap right underneath us, So we knew if we broke a very specific level, we knew we would likely fall through this volume gap, which is essentially what we're seeing happen right now. And with that being said, that kind of brings us to our next thing, and that is the key levels to watch. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about kind of what has happened thus far with the price action. Obviously, you guys know we traded in this. Let me go ahead and unextend this really quickly. You know that we were trading within this trend right here, or within this volume profile range for what felt like forever. And then finally, we were looking for that move to the downside, and we broke it. But we were talking about if we lost this value area high, or value area low, there was one level that was going to be very important, and that level was right here at about $22,319 or $320. We knew if we lost this level, we knew that we were likely going to fall through this low volume gap, and the next place we would find some support would be on this blue box where you see this next little spike in volume right here. And price ripped right through there as we expected, and now we are starting to find some support on this blue box. So I just wanted to break that down because this level at about $22,319 was a level that we've been watching forever, saying, listen, guys, if we lose this level, we're likely going to see more downside, and we will likely finally break this range that we were in forever to the downside, which is kind of what I was wanting. But that's kind of what we saw happen. And now if you take a look here at this larger volume profile, kind of involving this other area of consolidation right here, you could see we've basically broken below the point of control of this more macro range, and we are now working our way down towards that value area low of this bigger volume profile, and that value area low is coming in at about 21,240. So this may be the next big area to look for some support. Not only is that the value area low of this macro range, but I'm actually going to get rid of this volume profile and going to go ahead and pull some more volume right on this little area of consolidation right here. And you could see we have a previous value area between the levels of about 21,167 and about 20,700. Now, we have this value area here that we were trading in the past, and we know that although we had a area of balance right here, or another volume profile range up here, you could think of this as price being in balance, right? Not imbalanced, but in balance. But when you leave an area of balance, price will likely go and hunt the next high volume node. So you can see here, we left this high volume node to the upside, and then we hunted out this high volume node right here, started ranging around right here, and now that we are leaving this value area to the downside, price is likely going to hunt out the next value area or the next closest high volume node, which is now this high volume node down here. So we could potentially, if we break this blue box, get a move down below the blue box, and if we break below this value area high, meaning this previous value area high from this range over here, if we could break below that and get accepted back into that area of balance, we may start to range down here and just start ranging around in that previous value area. So in the short term, guys, if we do continue down and we break below that level, that value area high at $21,170, this is likely going to accept us back into that area of balance, and we will likely range around in that value area. Now, again, I would warn you about the low volume gaps, but we're already about halfway through it. Again, once we decisively break this high volume node or higher volume node, it's really not a high volume node compared to these, but once we break this little spike in volume, another gap down to about 21,500 is going to be very likely. We will be retesting the highs from this previous area consolidation. And then again, that next key level to watch is that value area high, because once we break below that and get stuck underneath it, we will likely, come down and revisit the value area low of that range, which is coming in at about 20,700. So that may be where we're likely to be headed in the short term for Bitcoin if this bearish action does continue. Now, we are starting, we did just confirm a green dot on the 4-hour time frame, but I was just telling the premium Discord, I am taking this green dot with a grain of salt just because money flow is not looking great on the lower time frames, as well as money flow on some of these higher time frames. Money flow crossing over into the red on the 8-hour is a pretty bearish sign. Also looking at the 10-hour starting to cross over into the red as well. So if these crossovers into the red confirm on the 8 and 10-hour, this will be a pretty bearish sign for Bitcoin. and in which case would make me take any of the more bullish setups on the lower time frames with a little bit more of a grain of salt, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is pretty bearish. This is kind of why I'm taking this green dot, not as seriously as I typically would. Also, money flow is in the red on the 4-hour as well. So, unless we start getting this money flow working back to the upside, these bullish setups may not be playing out like we would like them to. So until we see the money flow start to look a little bit better, guys, the 4-hour, the 5-hour green dot, is the 6-hour printed one yet? 6-hour looking for a green dot as well. So these may give us a short retrace to the upside or a small retracement to the upside. But again, with the way money flow is looking, I'm really not expecting anything too crazy out of these. So yeah, and then you could see right here, we did form somewhat of a bear flag. Let me go ahead and grab my parallel channel tool. Somewhat of a bear flag here. Not the cleanest bear flag, really. Kind of just a small sideways area of consolidation that we entered in a downtrend. This is really just bearish consolidation. Then we broke down, bearish retest, and now we are starting to lose this level once again with the confirmation of a yellow X. We talked about this on the live stream last night, guys. When you're looking at patterns or anything, if you're looking at a level, whether it's a value area low, value area high, POC, random level of support and resistance that you have, typically, maybe it's the breakout of a flag or a pattern. Typically, when something like a bear flag, in this case, you bing bong around in this range, cause bearish consolidation, and you enter the range in an impulsive move to the downside, consolidate in a bearish manner, and then you break down, bearish retest. Now, this is typically where you would like to enter a short trade on a bear flag breakdown. However, you can really add some serious confidence to that trade if you get a breakdown, bearish retest, and then on that next candle, if you could get a confirmation of something like a yellow X or a blood diamond, that could give you a decent bit of confidence to get that move to the downside. So, guys, I think that's all the time I got for this video. Just keep an eye. We could be on our way down to that $20,700 mark to revisit the value area low of that previous range that we were trading in all the way back in January. And again, that key level to watch is that value area high at about 21,170. If we crack below that level and can't get back above it, that's where you're expecting to potentially come down and revisit that lower level, about 20,700, because it is the value area low of the range. So, guys, watch out for those money flow crossovers into the red. Still leaning a bit bearish in the medium term. Shorter term, look out for a potential small retrace with the 5-hour green dot, with that 4-hour green dot. But again, with the way money flow is looking, if we do get a move up, I would expect it to be a small retracement before a bigger move to the downside. And I forgot to mention this, another key level, I may have touched on it briefly, that $19,500 level. We do have that CME gap. That price does like to fill more often than not. So if we get moving to the downside pretty quickly, that $19,500 level would be a great place to look for a bounce. Not only is the CME gap there, but we also have a very high volume node with perfect confluence in that level, so it would be a great place to get some support and then get more of a big bounce to the upside. And with all that being said, guys, I think that's all I got for this video. See you in the next one. Frankie Candles.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, we winning by a landslide.